2-minute delay. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight to see some of our ShopRite scholars. Congratulations. Here's Charlene Peterson from the New Jersey School Boards Association, who is going to learn us all about the CUSAC. Right, Charlene? Open the meeting, Mrs. Slum.
Dr. Cordolino? Here. Mr. Daughtry?
Here.
Dr. Modrath?
Here.
Mr. Morella?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Rappaport?
Here.
Ms. Zuckerman? Here. Mr. Palma?
Here.
Mr. Grau?
Here.
Mr. Emmer?
Here.
Mr. Hovill?
Here. Pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sunshine Law.
The Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of the Act, the Montville Township Board of Education provided a public notice of this meeting, which included time, date, and location, and was posted at the Montville Township Municipal Building, all Montville Township Public Schools, the Montville Public Library, the Montville Board of Education Administrative Office Building, the district website, and advertised in the Daily Record, the board's official newspaper, on January 11, 2019.
Thank you, Mrs. Slum. First item of business, we have our representatives from the high school tonight. And Malik, I don't know if you or Mason want to go first, but
The boys basketball the boys basketball team is having a disappointing season. Although maintaining an even record, the boys are performing below their expectations. After a great season last year, the boys have put together a record of 6-6 this year. The boys are playing as we speak, and hopefully they walk away with a win. The girls basketball team, although having a losing record of 6-8, are very promising considering most of their team are underclassmen, respectively. The girls lost earlier today and will now be preparing for counties and hopefully states. The hockey team started with a promising record, but after the team suffered 2 injuries to their starting and backup goalie, their team has been in a slump. We hope the team can get back on their feet as they try to compete for the Halverson Cup. The swim team competes in counties this weekend, qualifying for 2 separate relays and 1 individual. We also congratulate Victoria Eisenhower as she breaks yet another school record, earning a spot amongst all of Montville's greatest swimmers. The wrestling team is having a spectacular season as they hold on to a great 10-3 record. I would also like to congratulate senior Joe Dario on earning his 100th career win. The bowling team has been nothing short of spectacular, riding a 12-0 record, first in their conference. The team will be participating in counties on Thursday, hopefully solidifying their spot in states. Winter track team is competing in New Jersey State relays early today. So far this season, many of the athletes have showed great promise as they will soon prepare for counties and states. Good luck to all the teams and their county meets, matches, and games.
So for the extra stuff, so the Montville Mustangs donated $2,000 to every grade, which is helping with funding on class events. I thought that was really nice of them to do for everybody. And one other thing I wanted to bring up this year, so the American Legion Jersey Boys State, last year we were introduced to that program at the school by Mr. McManus, and I was one of the 3 representatives who went, and I'm just happy to see that this year it's even bigger than it was before our school. This year over 20 junior boys are applying, and that's like maybe 16, 17 more than last year. Only like 5 or 6 of them maybe applied last year. And this last year we were only able to send 3, but this year we're able to send 5, and I think that's great. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me, Malik.
thank you, guys. Any questions from our reps? I know that I've been to quite a few of the athletic events, and unlike the superintendent, I go, they win, and they lose. She goes, and they usually lose. So it's a bad omen. So I think we should keep her right at the chin.
I'll reserve your spot.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Next part of the agenda, we have our superintendent's report.
Okay, just a couple of quick things. I do have the second quarter update on the district goals posted in the agenda. I will not walk you through that because you can certainly all read that. But we are continuing to make good progress on our goals and on target to achieve them by the end of the year. I did just want to note too that high school band is having a program on Saturday, I believe at noon. Kind of an interesting program for our younger students who might be considering taking instrumental music, as they begin fourth grade next year. The students will perform, and the younger students will actually have an opportunity to kind of be a little hands-on with some of the instruments and explore them a little bit. So if you're thinking about pursuing music at the elementary level, I would encourage you to attend that performance on Saturday.
Where's it at?
It's right here in the auditorium. Thank you. Okay, I would like to move into the presentation part of our meeting. And I believe we have Mr. Natzak here to present our ShopRite Stars.
Hi, good evening. I'm happy to be here to present our ShopRite Stars for the second marking period. These stars were nominated by our faculty members in one of 5 different categories, and the winners were selected by the administrative committee. In addition to the recognition of these wonderful students, ShopRite also generously donates $1,000 for project graduation for the class of 2019. Please join me in congratulating each of our stars this evening. In the field of academics, congratulations to Devin Tremblay. Devin is deserving of this award because of her incredible work ethic and desire to seek out new challenges. Devin's passion is language arts, as evidenced by the fact that she's taken honors level English classes each of the course of the past 3 years. In addition, Devin is a member of our school newspaper, The Podium, has been involved in drama club on stage group for each of the past 4 years, and is a 3-sport athlete. Outside of the classroom, Devin works at Medlick, is a proud big sister of 2 younger brothers, and is currently in the process of writing her own book. While Devin is still applying to colleges, she plans to pursue a major in English and literature and is hopeful for a career in publishing or editing. Again, congratulations. In the field of athletics, congratulations to Anna George. Anna is one of the most accomplished athletes I have had the pleasure of introducing to you. Anna is a 6-time qualifier for the New Jersey Meet of Champions in both cross country and track and field. During her freshman year, Anna earned all-state recognition and was our North 1 Group 3 state sectional champion in cross country. During her senior year so far, Anna came in 3rd in Morris County and 2nd in the North 1 Group 3 state sectional championship in cross country. Anna holds school records in the 1600 meter, 800 meter, and 4x400 meter runs. Anna is not just talented athletically, she is a member of the Italian Honor Society and National Honor Society. Anna has already committed to run Division I cross country and track and field at the University of Richmond and plans to pursue a major in physical therapy. Again, congratulations. In the field of the arts, congratulations to Kaylee Coleman. staff members I spoke to about Kaylee had the same things to say about her character. They described her as hardworking, dedicated, and able to persevere in the face of any challenge. Those who knew Kaylee best also described her as artistically talented. For her ceramic sculptures, Kaylee has won an award at Montville and received a silver recognition in the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, as well as the Outstanding Award at the New Jersey State Fair. Kaylee's work has also been accepted to the juried Blackwell Street Artists Student Exhibition. This year, Kaylee took an independent study in ceramics and immediately used her extensive knowledge and passion to become a mentor to beginning students. Kaylee is still applying to colleges and has not yet decided on which major she plans to pursue. However, we know that whatever she chooses, she will be successful. Again, congratulations. In the field of community service, congratulations to Carly Benson. For the past 4 years, Carly has volunteered countless hours to give back to our local community. Carly has accomplished this through her work in 9th and 10th grade with the Make-A-Wish organization, as well as through her work in Pathways. At Pathways, Carly has been a member of Project Win-Win and the Rock Band, where she volunteered at least 2 to 3 days per week for each of the past 4 years. Despite Carly's community service, participation in the drama club, and work at a local law firm, she has still been able to maintain a 4+ GPA during her time at MTHS. Carly is in the process of applying to several top colleges and hopes to major in communication disorders and sciences with a minor in theater. Again, congratulations. In the field of leadership, congratulations to Emily Kozel. Emily has been preparing to be a leader since kindergarten when she first joined the Girl Scouts. In the nomination that we received on Emily is described as being someone who represents some of the best that MTHS has to offer. She has the respect of the entire faculty, staff, and student body. Emily has also previously served a leadership role as a liaison for the Montville Township Public Library and continues to serve as the co-president of the GSA. Emily is most proud of her work in the GSA, as well as her current independent study class, where she is publishing her own novel. Emily plans to attend Franklin and Marshall after graduating and will major in English with a minor in creative writing. Again, congratulations to Emily and to all of our second marking period Shopware stars.
Yes. I'm sure that Mrs. Marinello will like a picture of all of our recipients together. Before I invite Charlotte Peterson to come up for her presentation, since she is here, we are, January is School Board Recognition Month, and we very rarely take time out to thank the board members for the work that they do. Volunteer work, long hours, probably more aggravation than they initially signed up for. But I'm very happy to work with this board. Their hearts are all in the right place. They're here for the right reason, to do what's best for the students here in Montville Township. So I'd like, if possible, for you to join me in a round of applause to thank them for their service.
Thank you very much, Renee, on behalf of myself and the board, for your sweet comments. Thank you very much for this nice gift we have, and I assume it's like $100 in each package for all of our service. And again, it's great on my behalf to serve as a board member. I've been doing it a long time. You know, several of my colleagues have been on the board a long time also. And it's nice like this when we have the ShopRite Scholars here, and Teacher of the Year. It just makes it great. And I thank you and I congratulate the ShopRite Scholars and their parents. The award is well deserved. Thank you.
And now I would like to turn things over to Charlene Peterson, who is our field representative from the New Jersey School Boards Association. As part of this board's continuing training, looking to become a certified board of education.
Are there any people here would want to be excused before I get started?
Feel free to go.
School
projects.
I know how to figure out our own.
Very good, yeah. Congratulations.
Okay, I think go ahead and get started. So it's a pleasure to be here tonight. As always, every time I come here, you're always recognizing students, and I'm always amazed to hear the level of what they accomplish. It's inspiring. And I'm happy to be here for School Board Recognition Month. I left a copy of the PowerPoint, but also an article that was in our school board leader about 13 things that board members wish people knew about them. So just kind of, as you go through that, one of them being that you don't get paid for all these volunteer hours. So just let that be to look at. But so I'm here tonight to talk to you about the board's role in QSAC, recognizing that this is something that I imagine your district has been living with and spending a lot of time with, right?
And we are scheduled to undergo that process on February 12th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just going to go through kind of an overview of the board's role in this process, and really just focusing on the governance piece of it. So I'm going to just kind of get started here. When I was here the last time, we talked about the superintendent's evaluation process, and as part of that, I mentioned that there were some changes to QSAC that were being implemented effective this past July. So this is, basically we're just going to focus on what are those changes, what is the new focus of the state as it's looking at QSAC. So for as often as we say the words QSAC, I had to look at it and think about what it stands for. So it's Quality Single Accountability Continuum. So the state defines that as one of its, its systems, I guess, to make sure that every student in New Jersey is provided with a thorough and efficient education. And the role that QSAC plays in this is kind of a monitoring system and also evaluation. And the way it's implemented is through districts doing self-reporting, that you have to fill out these district performance reviews and then provide verification that you did what you said you did on the district performance review. So we're going to go through and look at what those mean, recognizing that the whole purpose of this is to identify those districts that are in need of additional support. So just a little history, or a few basic facts. QSAC was established in 2005. their regulations to help support and carry it out. And the Department of Ed reviews those regulations every 5 years. So 2017 then is when that review took place. So now we're implementing it here in 2018, the outcome of that review. As a district, your district gets reviewed every 3 years. So it used to be if you were a high-performing district, you were given an extension and could go longer than that. And now that we have gone to the new changes here, everybody now is back on a 3-year cycle. Mentioned that we fill out the district performance review, that there are 5 key areas that we'll look at those in just a minute. And under those areas are indicators, and so the total indicators is 69, and 80% is kind of that magic score. The districts need to achieve that in order to be considered high performing. So I mentioned the 5 areas, so it's instruction and program, fiscal management, governance, operations, and personnel. So these are the criteria which your performance is measured. And this is what the state looks at to see what kind of help you need, what kind of intervention you need. And it, like I said, it's kind of that monitoring system. So how it works is it starts out with that self-assessment, where as a district you score yourself in each one of those 5 areas, and then you have to submit it to the county superintendent. The county superintendent then, they're kind of, fill in for the state, and their role is to do that verification, to look for that evidence, ask for that evidence, to ensure then that the way you scored yourself, that you are able to verify that that happened. And then they will make a recommendation, score you and make a recommendation to the commissioner, and then the commissioner gives you a final performance determination and places you on the continuum of what that percent rating was for your district. So while that sounds easy to say you have to do a self-assessment, and while the state is telling us that they're trying to make it easier, I think you can probably agree that it's probably still a difficult process that requires a lot of work, requires a lot of documentation. So the way the process starts is through a committee, and the committee is appointed by the superintendent. So it includes the superintendent, and then the state identifies who should be on this committee, at least for a minimum, and said, it should be the business administrator, the assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, any other district personnel the superintendent would like to have on the committee, that there has to be at least 1 or more members of the local bargaining unit, and it says that the bargaining unit has to select that member, and the same as board, that there should be at least 1 board member, and the board should select that member. And then there can be others, so the committee can be as big as the superintendent wants. The state just identifies kind of the minimum of who needs to be on it. And then said additionally, as the board, if you wanted to, you could create a subcommittee that would consult with this committee, and you could do monitoring by requiring that there be updates at your public meetings. So we mentioned that it was a continuum that you would get placed on. So look at your overall scores. Like I said, 80% was that magic number. The districts that score 80% or higher are considered to be high-performing districts. In between that, districts that don't score 80%, the state will ask that you develop an improvement plan. There will be interim evaluations. You may be provided some technical assistance. And for districts that satisfy less than 50%, as we talk about districts that are on state intervention, this is how it happens through the QSAC process, and districts not scoring above the 50% level. And while you may satisfy 80% or more on some of the 5 areas, if even in one area you don't score that 80%, then the state puts you in what they call an interim status, where you have to have an improvement plan put together for that one area, and then you'll have interim reviews on that one area. So So the whole intent of this, again, is making sure, it's not supposed to be considered punitive, it's not supposed to be considered onerous, it's supposed to be a way to help us strive to continually get better, recognizing, we always talk about student achievement and how important it is, and it drives the work that we do. So this is considered to be one more tool to help make us, be able to advance student achievement and make sure that all of our students get a thorough and efficient education. So I had mentioned then that the review takes place every 5 years. So 2007, when the regulations were adopted, at that point there were 300 indicators. Then the next time when they looked at the regulations again, they reduced the number of indicators to 84. Then 2014 is when the state brought out the ability for some districts to go longer than the 3 years if they were high-performing districts. And then now 2017 is again then this next review of the regulations. And this time we're down to 69 regulations. So continuing to streamline it, to make it more user-friendly. And so just show you here kind of what the focus is. So the main kind of intent this time was saying that you have so many different reporting systems, we have so many things that we're accountable to, that let's try and bring them all together. Let's try and make them be more in alignment. So they recognize that New Jersey is using the shift from the NCLD to now the ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, the readoption of the regulations, and then the performance reports that you have to fill out for the state and saying, okay, instead of all the work you have to do for each one of them, let's try and make them more in alignment with one another. So that was the goal this time when they looked at the, redoing the regulations, that's what they took into consideration. So this time their objectives, they looked at 3 different areas of saying, how can we clarify it? How can we make it more clear? So they looked at the indicators to make sure that they were objective, clear, measurable. They looked at the point values and then made a focus on growth and performance for the students. Then again, they talked about the fact that they aligned it with the other systems, and then tried to simplify, eliminate redundancy, tried to eliminate the time it would take for you to prepare. Because one of the things that they tried to do, it was have this time, even though they're coming into your district, there are a lot of things that you sent to them, a lot of things that they were able to look at remotely, so that they didn't have to spend as much time in your district, because you could upload and send them documents to make it easier. And they wanted, the state is asking that we consider their role to be more of support rather than compliance for those districts that need the additional support. So those are kind of the points that we were emphasizing, that the regulations are meant to reduce the burden of data collection, that they provide a nuanced picture of where a district is on the continuum. So before we thought of it as you either passed or you failed. Now they want to change it from kind of a more of a continuum of support. And this year they released in August a user manual that is what I think it's about 130 some pages that goes through every single indicator, tells you exactly what they're looking for, what documentation will help fulfill the indicator, and tells you that said we'll know that you've been successful when you've given us these things. So continuing to make it easier. They've also included some templates of things for you to upload things through. So trying to make it like a little more streamlined and a little more user friendly. So we're going to focus just a little bit on governance, since that's the area that's most considered to be the board's responsibility. So it has always been in QSAC, things that they considered important for boards is making sure that there's curriculum in your district that's aligned with the standard. As board, making sure that you have oversight over the budget process, developing and implementing your policies, evaluating the superintendent, and reviewing and approving contracts, So now some of the things that have been added, or focuses that have been added with the new indicators is for those federal grants that the district receives, to make sure that stakeholders are engaged in that process, and we'll look at these a little in a few minutes here. Making sure that you have established programs and services for English language learners. So while budgeting was always your responsibility, now there's more of a focus on making sure that the budget addresses the curriculum implementation and that the two are aligned together, that what you're putting in the budget is what your students need to be successful. And I was at a ASBO meeting and I heard them saying that especially in this area that it also overlaps into like the finance DBR, and that you can conceivably, if you lose points in one, you're going to lose points in the other one as well because of the overlap of them. And then I'm not quite sure how this fits into governance, but they also added that all your students need to have access to media services where they are connected to classroom instruction. Yes, it had to go somewhere, right? So I just wanted to show you briefly what the indicators are in governance, and then this was part of, I took some of these out of the manual, kind of showing then, what are those things then that the state's going to be looking at. So we talked about policies and the fact that we're responsible for policies. So the indicator says that at least once a year we have to review and update through a resolution all of our policies. And then they also want to make sure that for every statutory change or any new regulations, that you are continuing to update and include and pass these new policies to make sure that you stay in compliance. So the way the state's going to check up on that is they're going to look at your minutes to see that that happened. And then they're also going to do an audit of a sample size of your policy manual then to make sure that you do have those necessary policies in place. Talked about the evaluation of the superintendent. They're going to make sure that you have a policy and a contract with the superintendent that provides for the board evaluating the superintendent annually based on goals with the highest priority on student achievement and subgroup achievement, and that each new member has to receive training. So they'll look at the superintendent's evaluation, they'll look at your policy, and look for evidence that the new board members received that required training. So did you have anyone that was brand new sworn in? Okay, so then you're good then. Also, we talked about that the evaluation has to be completed by July 1st, and that there's now 6 points associated with that. So they will actually look at the signed and dated copy of the superintendent's evaluation. So we already started getting some panic phone calls last year, so I imagine that we'll probably get some more this year. Districts asking if we have those evaluations for them. Contracts, any new or amended contracts for the superintendent, assistant superintendent, business administrator, have to go to the county superintendent first before the board can approve them. So they're going to make sure then, they're going to look at those dates that the county superintendent reviewed it, and then compare it to the minutes of when you, as the board, approved them. Looking at staff appointments, making sure that as the board said that they have to be approved by a roll call of the majority of the full board. So not even the quorum of who's here, but of the full board. So they'll be checking to make sure that that happened. If there is anything through any of your audits or anything that require corrective action plans to make sure that they have been put in place and that there is evidence that they're being implemented. The budgeting process, like I said, and one of the things you'll notice in the budgeting things, there's 3 budgeting indicators. They have the highest point values. All 3 of them are worth 8 points each. So that's kind of sending us a message that that's where the focus or the priority is. So again, making sure that the budget is in alignment with the district priorities based on state assessments and your strategic plan. So one of the things we're finding too is that this is encouraging more and more districts that don't have a strategic plan to to undergo that process, recognizing that it's part of the CUSAC alignment, looking at your goals, and then making sure that you go through the process and they actually outline the steps of it. Did you conduct a public hearing? Did you adopt your budget at a public meeting? Are you providing information? And are you making the budget available to the public? And they said they're actually going to look on your website to make sure that there's a separate section on your website for the budget so that it is easy and clear for the public to find that information. So some of the newer things we said were on there is making sure for those federal grants that there are some stakeholder requirements that they need to be involved in the process. So they're going to look to make sure that you have sign-in sheets, agendas, meeting minutes of those meetings with the stakeholders, or your English language learners, to make sure that you have a 3-year plan if needed. Make sure you're compliant with the Open Public Meetings Act, that you approve the board secretary and treasurer reports within 60 days of month end, that you certify no major funds are overexpended, that your meeting minutes are available to the public in 2 weeks or before the next board meeting, that you follow your annual disclosure statements, discuss the School Ethics Act annually, and that all students have access to library media services in each building connected to classroom studies. And they also spell out they should have access to computers, software, books, references, materials, and in the things in the verification of compliance, want to make sure that that's under the direction of a certified school library media specialist. So those are pretty much all of the requirements for governance. That would be what's under the direction of the board or your responsibility. I just have the other DPRs here. I'm not going to go through them. They're just here for your reference. But what you'll see in there too are other mentions of policies and other things that the board may need to be involved in some indirect way. Pretty much all I have. Just like I said, wanted to give you an overview of what the governance portion was. Make sure you understand kind of what the new focus is and trying to get everything more in alignment with the other accountability measures that we have to work with, and try and make it easier and more streamlined and make it more user-friendly. So, any questions?
We've done all of this already, right, Renee? We have visitors coming in February.
We are prepared for their visit. We have spent a lot of time preparing, working with our committee, and they're coming February 11th, so we're ready for that.
So did you find it any easier this go around, or not necessarily?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. It's still, it's a lot of documentation. While some of it is now available electronically, we find still a lot of pulling documents together. I don't think it's substantially less than what we've done in the past.
And did you find the manual helpful?
Manual, very helpful, yes. Yeah, because it tells you specifically the kinds of documentation that they're looking for from the district to demonstrate that you've accomplished the objective.
Didn't bother the board. I was a representative who met with Renee and Casey and Katin and spent the time with that, but I'm sure there'll be no difficulty. Now, are you coming back again this year, Charlene? We look forward to having you all the time.
So we need to kind of stay on a schedule of about 4 hours a year is the minimum we need to stay on schedule. So I just looked in 2018, the board did 3.5 hours of training. So we need to kind of stay at that consistent 4.
So you'll work it out with the administration, make sure we don't fall behind.
Yes.
Last time you were here to do the superintendent's evaluation, you said that there might be something ahead of the final evaluation, like a training session again, or did
No,
I
I
miss
think
that?
it's that I would meet with the board, a pre-evaluation conference, and I have a note that we would want to do that in March.
Okay.
We'll try to do that.
Very good.
Okay, great.
Any questions for Charlene? We're gonna test you one of these times on everything you present here.
I'm sure she'll pass it. Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Charlene.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
Okay, good night. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Anything else, Renee?
No, that officially concludes my report.
So you don't need the second quarter update?
No, I mentioned that. It's there.
Okay, we have a lot of good news and things from various schools, so please read that over. Business administrators report?
I have no report this time.
Okay. But I do know we have an addendum to the agenda, right?
Yes.
Okay. Committee reports, I asked you guys at the organizational meeting to please let me know what you'd be interested in. Most of you indicated you'd like to stay where you are. In fact, I don't know of anybody that said they wouldn't. Some would like to do more. Keep in mind, we only have so many slots with 4 members on the committee. So what I'm going to do is appoint all the committees to be the same. We will be changing the liaisons in June. Michelle will be leaving the middle school, going to the high school as a PTA. Mike will stay on as Mustangs. Mike, you'll be going as a liaison for Lazar, and Dave, you'll stay in the Hilldale. You all go to the PTAs anyway, so it's really just to get a name down there. School boards, Morris County school boards, all of that would remain the same. Mike, you want to remain as drug awareness?
Yes.
Okay, I know we have Joe on that also. So if you can list them down, please, Regine, on the next agenda. Okay? Public participating, I see 2 people out there. I can't see Scott, but there he is. You don't happen to have any questions, do you, Scott?
Not at this time, sir, thank you.
Okay. Consent resolution, good. Someone move the consent resolution plus the addendum.
Committee report?
Huh?
Committee reports.
We don't have any committees, do we?
Well, communications met in January.
Okay, I didn't think we had any meet. I know you got minutes of it, but
Yeah.
if we'd like to report on
Just
communications.
briefly,
Karen?
we met January 8th, and we spent most of our time talking about the website update. The committee reviewed the mock-ups of the new district and school homepages, and the mock-ups are almost ready for approval, so those will be rolling out. We also talked about Schoolology, which is a new student, teacher, parent information system. Is I guess the best way to describe it. So that will be rolling out soon as well. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else like to give any reports?
Curriculum scheduled for February 19th.
February 19th for curriculum. Got that, Dave?
I got that.
Michael?
We're still on committees, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Policy and safety is going to be making a meeting shortly. Well, dates.
And again, I ask, if you can't make the meeting for whatever reason, please let one of the administrators know, who's ever in charge of that, so they can reach out to me to get a replacement. Okay?
Do you want PTC report?
Excuse me?
Do you want PTC update?
You have, oh, yeah,
Lazar.
that's what I said, yeah.
Lazar PTC met last week, and just the big things going on, they're gearing up for high school scheduling at Lazar, and they're very excited for their first bingo fundraiser, so tickets are on sale now. Information's on the Lazar website. That's April 4th, if anyone's interested in going. Similar to what the MEF did, but they have some really great raffle prizes and a good fundraiser for the Lazar PTC.
Can you get Katrina that information so she can disseminate it or send us all an email?
Absolutely.
It's
And
April
then-
4th?
April 4th, and then a Thursday evening at the Parsippany PAL. And then, of course, they're always looking forward to living lessons on May 16th.
Some of us were able to go to the winter concert last week. Went on Wednesday night, which I think was the 7th and 8th.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think the 6th grade went the following night.
Yes.
And I must say one thing, there were so many kids involved, and they were so good. It was unbelievable. And plus,
the place was packed. The auditorium was overloaded. I got there at 25 or 7, and they had a wrestling match the same night where the young guy got his 100th win. I had to park up in the library parking lot, or out on Horseneck. But the concert was fantastic, and all of the kids were so excited, and it was fantastic if you could make it.
Hey, Charlie, real quick. They just announced Michelle Sullivan basketball game, the 26th annual game, will be Friday, March 22nd.
At the Michelle game?
It's Michelle game, yeah. And at 7 o'clock at high school. It's always a really good game, always packed, a good time.
You know, we did get a notice a while ago, an email from Patty, and everything, she sort of summarized for the high school and middle school for the months of February and March, I guess. And I'm wondering if they can do something with the elementaries. I don't know what you can do, and I just wondered if she could take a look at it, like PTA meetings or something like that, or if they have a concert. If Cedar Hill has a concert some night, I don't know.
Yeah,
It
most
take a
of the concerts at the elementary level now are in the springtime, like the May timeframe, but I will ask her.
See what she did on that if you can, no rush. All right, current resolutions, everything, plus the addendum, please. Motion, please.
So
moved. Second. You got that, Katin? Okay. We have 2 sets of minutes. The rest of J, we have the gifts. K, facilities, the bill list, financial reports. Is this where your addendum is going to, Katin?
Charlie, may I just ask one quick question? On disposal of sale of equipment, I see a lot of Chromebooks there. What happens to them when we dispose of them? Do we get any kind of money for them? Do we sell them?
We sell them.
We sell them?
So what will happen after you approve tonight, we then go on to a website called GovDeals. And what it is it's other school districts, other governmental entities, we put them up for sale. And then whatever we get, we get.
Great.
I think there were 23 pages, about 50
Oh my
per
God,
page.
there are
Went on
hundreds,
forever, yeah.
hundreds of them.
Yeah.
Michael?
Is that basically an online auction?
Yes,
What's-
yes.
Yeah.
You
And
want-
it's
you
the
want
most
that?
efficient
No,
way.
I agree with you anyway, but I just want to be sure. So different districts are
Yes.
bidding at various,
Yes. And so it's a very efficient way for us to sell.
Okay, thank you.
Talking about efficient ways, I'm very impressed that on K5, number 4, they were hiring a consulting company. I know you spoke about this in your update, Renee, for the amount of $9,000 to get the E-rate. I don't know if we're still getting probably in excess of $100,000 every year, and I think this is money well spent. And then with the new communications, website, site and everything, I think Austin will be able to be used there easily. Anything else on K?
yeah. I just like to, I know if you want to comment, it's a positive comment. There's K8, unused sick payout. Okay. I just wanted to say that the teachers who did not use sick days was great savings. Their good health and their attendance to the district. It was a good thing for our district that they didn't. They worked out.
Very good. JKL, yeah, we have that in then, what's that, K-12, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was
So
part of the motion, K-12.
K-12 is just to update the board. This is an addendum onto the agenda for the termination of a transportation contract. This relates to a run that is going into Morris School of Technology. We will be terminating the contract for non-performance and allowing the bonding company to then take over the agreement in order to fulfill it with providers who can provide better service.
Thank you. L?
Yeah, one quick question. Number 2, is that a misprint, $2.38 an hour? Under K, what is it, 2?
K?
Or L2, sorry.
L2?
I'm sorry, L3, number 2.
L3,
Number 2. Yeah.
Megan?
Yes.
Yes, that's a
So what?
typo.
No, that, is that a typo? I think that's correct. That's the hourly difference between her serving as a classroom aide and a paraprofessional. So it's just an hourly rate difference.
Gotcha, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small amount.
Minimum wage would be right after it. All right, LM. All of the in-service, that we have seminars and stuff, right? And I don't think we have any policies this month, right?
No, February meeting.
Okay, any questions before we call the roll? All right, Christine?
Mr. Palma?
Yes.
Dr. Modrak?
Yes.
Dr. Cordolino?
Yes.
Mr. Daughtry?
Yes, with the exception for check number 90276 and 90237.
Mr. Morella?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Aye.
Mr. Rappaport?
Yes.
Ms. Zuckerman?
Yes, abstain, item I, the minutes from December 18th.
Mr. Graf?
I vote yes on everything except check number 90295 where I abstained. Joe's vote was a no or an abstention?
Abstention.
Abstention, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. Thank you, Joe.
And Mr. Palma, I think you're abstaining on check number 90338.
On the bill.
Does anyone else need to abstain?
No, I got it, I think I saw.
Then they send in a, okay. Anything, no closed session, no old business?
Well, we did have the discussion item on there for the 2021 school calendar, and I did kind of,
What?
the 2020-2021 school calendar as a discussion item. I don't know if, we're not approving it tonight, but if it's there for people to take a look at, if there are any concerns about the way the calendar is laid out.
I think there's a,
Anything?
if I remember, there's a mistake in September. I think the dates are wrong. I don't have it in front of me, but Labor Day is opening day of school. Just check the September one, would you please? I didn't print it out, so, but I think remit. Just something wrong with the dates over here or something. I don't know. Anything else?
Yes.
Michael?
Yeah, just like a comment on some, another matter. Like to comment on another matter, okay, as some of you know, yesterday was Dr. Martin Luther King Day, and I'd just like to comment on the activities of one Montville yesterday. The program began at Holy Spirit Church. There was quite an attendance there, some various dignitaries as well. We went to St. Pius from there. There's the synagogue, and by the end of the day, people ended up at the mosque over the roof. And I think it was a great day. I think it was a great program that one Montville set up. I learned a lot yesterday. I think a lot of other people who attended really did too. And it was just a great display of togetherness for our community and our missions of acceptance. And I think it needs to be said that the superintendent was the mover for the creation of one Montville, and I think it's really come to fruition, this great group that does a lot of really good work in our community. So I'd just like to thank her, and I'd like to congratulate her and all the people who participated, families and so on who participated in this day. It was really good.
It's a little chilly walking, and that's why they canceled the walk, right?
Yes.
A little chilly out there, yesterday. But, Mike has been on there for a while, and several other board members are on there along with the administration. Anything else? Do we have a motion to return, please?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Everybody?